Hello, everyone. It's Rich Fettke, co-founder of RealWealth, and really glad you're here today. This is the 15th year I've delivered the Focused Investor Program for the members of RealWealth. Usually it's live in front of the whole group. We only have a few hundred people there. This year, it is a webinar, so it is what it is. So welcome. Glad you're here. And, most of our webinars here at RealWealth are really focused on the how-tos of real estate investing and the different markets, the economy, like Kathy just delivered her market predictions and all that. But today's webinar is a little bit different. Since you're a member of Real Wealth Network, I probably don't have to explain all those benefits of real estate investing to you, owning hard assets and cash flow and tax benefits and how you can use leverage to grow a portfolio and ongoing cash flow, all that good stuff. You know that. But I think we all know that real estate is a great way to create real wealth, which is simply having the money and the freedom to live life on your own terms. So this program, The Focused Investor, is how to take real wealth to the next level. It's how to really be a focused investor, because one thing Kathy and I've seen in it's almost 18 years of running Real Wealth is that the most successful investors are the most focused investors. They're really the ones who have the blueprint of how they're going to achieve their goals, what they want for an outcome, and also real clarity about their why they want that. So we're going to take a look at that today, and let's move right into this. All right. So, disclaimer, as we always have, and if you attended the year completion webinar a few weeks ago, you heard the same, but I'm going to repeat it right here because it's so important. Usually our disclaimers about all that legal stuff, this is a little more important, I think. The strategies mentioned in this presentation may not be appropriate for everyone. These strategies are only appropriate if you have a strong desire to grow, improve, and be a more focused investor. And your past performance is no guarantee of future results. While every effort is made to design and create a life of abundance and happiness, the possibility of challenges, mess-ups, and failures always exists. However, I believe that you don't want to settle for a lame, boring life. You want to kick ass and you want to get the most out of life. And that's why you're here. So let's do this. Okay, with the disclaimer all stated, let's move on. So maybe this is your 15th year attending the Focused Investor Program. Maybe it's your first. Whatever it is, here's what Zig says about it. People often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. So it's a great one from Zig. I think we have to take that into consideration. We have this motivation, it can wear off. So we need that little boost, that little oomph that keep us going, to keep us moving ahead. And so hopefully I can provide that today in this program, along with some clarity. Okay, so real wealth, I mentioned a little while ago, we see it as having the money and the freedom to live life on your own terms. So I just want you to think about that real quick. What does living life on your own terms mean to you? What is real wealth for you when you think about real wealth? Because that's what we're all about. Investing is great, real estate's great, but there's a means to that. There's a reason, there's a means to an end. And I would boil it down to say it's happiness and fulfillment. So what is happiness and fulfillment for you? Is it more time with your family, more time with the people you love, able to give back, have that beautiful home you want or homes, whatever it might be? So give thought to that just for a moment. What is real wealth for you? And as we go through this today, I'm going to be asking you similar questions where you're going to really be able to tap in and take a look at what it is for you. What is real wealth? What's the game plan? Where do you want to go? Here's my goal for today. Moving from 2020 into 2021. Now we're in 2021, so moving ahead. My goal is to help you gain clarity and create a clear and simple plan that you implement for more joy, fulfillment, and real wealth in 2021 and beyond. However, there is a problem. Life is busy, right? We get very busy. We often put off what matters, and we also don't realize what really matters sometimes until it's too late. So hopefully today we can step back and really look at what really matters to you, and we don't put it off. You take action on it so you can be a more focused investor in 2021 and beyond. So here's the plan. For over 15 years, I was a business coach before we founded Real Wealth Network and before we grew this company, and even into the beginning of in the company. But basically in that process of being a coach, this is the 4 stages that we would go through when I would work with a client. It would be about envisioning where you want to go. Then it would be moving into the strategy of how to get there. Then it would be implementing that strategy, how to take action and stay focused day after day, month after month. And then it would be observing what's working, what's not working, what did I learn, how did I grow, and then bringing that in again. So we did go through this process already. I'll mention that in a moment. But today is all about that envisioning piece, getting clear on where you want to go, and also strategizing how you're going to get there. And then it's going to be up to you to implement it, but I'm going to give you some tips on how to implement more effectively. And we do the same process. Like I said, we follow this process with our family, completing the year and also setting intentions for the year and our future and visualizing our future and laying out our plans for everything from finances to health to relationships and everything. But we do the same thing at our annual retreat with all our team at Real Wealth Network. So we had 27 people together. I don't know if everyone shows up in this photo, but we had 27 of our team together, and we did the same thing. We strategized where the company's going to be in 10 years, 3 years, what was our 1-year strategic plan, and it's been working. We've done this for many, many years. So we're going to bring similar questions to you today for your life plan, your business plan. And I'm going to really see you as the expert today. You are the expert in your life. You're the expert in your investing. Really, it's about where you want to go. So my job today is really to take that Socratic method, to ask the right questions, to hope draw out of you, to educate, coming from the word educe, to draw out from you the most important steps for you and the most important clarity for you. Thanks to Albert, the important thing is to never stop questioning. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions today. So please have something to write with and something to capture all this, because I am going to be asking a lot of questions, and you will walk away from today with a clear and simple plan that you can implement for a better 2021 and beyond. All right, before we go into that, I just wanted to find out if you did a year-end completion. Did you wrap up your 2020? Why would you want to do that? Because it helps you pause and reflect. It really has you step back and take a look at what you're grateful for and have awareness about what's great in your life, and successes and wins and all that. And it also teaches us how to become an even better version of ourselves. So by completing the year, you get to look back and really say, okay, how did I grow? How did I improve? And how can I improve this year going forward? So we're going to look at a lot of that today. But if you did not do a year on completion, wrapping up your year, and it might even sound strange, like what is a year on completion? If you go to realwealth.com or realwealthnetwork.com and you go to the Learn section right at the top where it says Learn, click on that. You'll see a drop down. It says New and Noteworthy. If you go to that tab, that category, I think it's on the second page. You might have to go to the bottom and click to the second page, because we've had several webinars since I did the Focused Investor Completing Your 2020. It's right there. So you can go through those videos. You can wrap up your 2020 and see what you learned and how you grew over the year. I really recommend it. If you didn't, no biggie. You can definitely do today and still get a lot of clarity and a lot of value. But if you didn't go there yet, you might want to go and check that out. Okay, so you remember that coaching model of the 4 areas. Envisioning was that first piece. Envisioning, getting clarity on where you want to go. It's all about looking to the future for your next steps today. So let's do that. Let's look into the future. We're going to look at creating a vision. I believe a vision is simply a very clear picture of what you see for yourself in the future if everything turns out just right. We do as humans have this negativity bias. You've probably heard of it. It's the way we evolved. It kept us safe for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, looking for what might hurt us, might kill us, whatever it might be. So we have a tendency, our brains have a tendency to focus on what's wrong or what could go wrong. So today we're going to put that aside, since we don't have so many people trying to kill us or animals trying to attack us or all these dangers. Our fears are sometimes unwarranted. So let's take a look into the future at your vision of what you want your life to look like if everything turns out just right, without that gremlin. We all have a gremlin in our head that tells us we can't, or why we're going to fail, or why we're not enough. It's this itty bitty shitty committee inside our brains that's like, let's put him aside for today or her aside for today and just say, yeah, okay, take a break. We're going to look forward into the future without your assistance. Thank you. One of my favorite ways to get clarity around a vision I call future focus. This is an exercise I've been doing for many, many years. It's really powerful. I think for me, it's one of the most powerful things that has had an impact on my future and my life and where I am today. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and that future that I envisioned 30 years ago and 20 years ago is definitely here today. So I really believe in this stuff, and I've taken clients through it for many years, and also members of Real Wealth who've come up to me years after attending the Focused Investor Program in person, and they've come back to me and they said, I did this 3 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever, and that future that I envisioned is actually happening. So let me take you through it. What I'm going to ask you to do is go ahead and put down, if you have a pen in your hand or something you're writing. If you're driving and listening to this, then you might want to pull over, because we're going to go a little bit deep here. We're going to bring a little California woo-woo into the webinar here. So go ahead and just get in a comfortable position. If you meditate or visualize, get into that position that you prefer. If you don't, I would recommend sitting with your back straight, feet planted on the floor, and just in a calm, grounded space. And then I'm going to invite you to get grounded here. So go ahead, and I think that one of the best ways to get grounded is to actually close your eyes and take a real deep breath in. Deep, deep, deep. Feel your rib cage expand. Breathe that breath in really deep. Hold it for a moment, and then let it go. Then take another deep breath in, really noticing the breath filling your lungs, and then let it go. And take a couple more deep, deep breaths and allow yourself to become more relaxed and more comfortable. And I'm going to invite you to take a little mental journey. And in this mental journey, I'm going to be asking you some questions. And I'll give you these questions after to help you remember them. And as you get more relaxed, more grounded, more comfortable, I want you to imagine that spot between your eyes, your third eye. And imagine there's a light between your eyes. And notice the color of this light. And now imagine that light becoming a beam of light that extends from right between your eyes out towards space. And imagine following that beam of light up into space, following the beam of light up away from the world, moving further and further away from the earth, moving through the clouds, moving higher and higher up this beam of light towards space, feeling the darkness and the peacefulness of space, seeing the earth below you get smaller and smaller. And as you move further and further out into space, imagine that you look up ahead and you see another beam of light, a different color from the one that you followed into space. And that beam of light is intersecting with the beam of light that you're following. And now imagine following that other beam of light back toward Earth. Moving along that beam of light, moving toward Earth, getting closer and closer to the big ball of blue and green with white clouds wisping around it. And you realize that this beam of light is moving you back toward Earth 10 years in your future. You're about to have the experience of seeing your life 10 years in the future. As you move down this beam of light, getting closer and closer to Earth, notice where the beam of light intersects with the Earth. Make your way down the beam of light, landing upon Earth, and notice where you are. And as you look up ahead, you see a dwelling. This is the home of your future self. This is where you live 10 years in the future. Notice this place, the home of your future self. Notice what it looks like. Notice if there are trees or flowers. Make your way toward the front door of this home and do what you need to do to get someone to come to the door. And realize that on the other side of this door is you. It's your future self, 10 years in your future. As the door opens, notice this person, your future self. This is you 10 years in the future. Notice how your future self welcomes you in and greets you. Notice what your future self looks like. Notice what they are wearing. Get a feeling of this person, your future self. And your future self invites you to come inside. As you walk inside this home, look around. Take in this home of your future self. Are there photographs? Notice the colors and the feeling of this place. Your future self invites you to come in and sit down for a comfortable conversation. As you sit down with your future self, you probably have some questions you'd like to ask. Begin with this question. Future self, in the last 10 years, what stands out most in your memory? And listen to what your future self has to tell you. And now, ask your future self, what do I need to do to get from where I am to where you are? What would be helpful for me to know to get to where you are? And listen to your future self's reply. And now, there are probably other questions you'd like to ask your future self. Go ahead and take some time to ask any questions that you might have. It's time to go now. But you realize you can come back to this place anytime. Your future self will always be there to be a wise mentor or a guide. As you make your way back to the door with your future self, do whatever you want to do to say goodbye. Make your way through the door and back into the front of the home. And as you look up ahead, notice that beam of light that brought you here 10 years into the future. And imagine following that beam of light back up towards space, moving further and further up the beam of light, deeper and deeper into space, looking up ahead and seeing the other beam of light that took you into space originally. Follow that beam of light back toward Earth, moving back and closer and closer to the Earth, realizing that you're coming back to the year 2021, moving further and further down the beam, and back into the room, wiggling your fingers and toes, becoming more aware, taking a deep, deep breath in, and when you're ready, open up your eyes. Okay, welcome back. That was Future Focus. I love that exercise. You can go deeper and deeper. Again, you can always come back to this later. You can do it on your own. Maybe when you go to bed tonight, when you're laying there, now that you know that beam of light that you can fall out into space and come back to Earth, you can go back to Earth in 5 years, and 10 years, and 20 years. So go ahead and do that tonight before you go to bed or when you're laying in bed or at any time. My future self has been really a great guide and a great mentor. What we're really doing is we are putting that gremlin aside that tells us what we can't, or all the negativity bias and all that. That future focus, that person that you met, that's you without all the gremlins. It's you with more wisdom, with more experience, 10 more years experience, 10 more years of investing, 10 more years of becoming a better human. So what I'm going to do is just kind of take you through some of the questions that you asked your future self, and you can jot these answers down. What you're really tapping into is your subconscious mind, what you really believe at a deeper level. So hopefully you liked your future self, and because that's where you believe that you're going and heading, but it can really be a powerful tool for you. So the first thing that I asked you to take a look at was your future self's home. So you came down that beam of light, you saw your future self's home. So go ahead and write down, what did you notice about your future self's home? You might want to just write down, my future self's home is, and then complete that sentence. I'll give you a moment to write some notes down. And often your future self's home is really a reflection of who you think you are, or where you see yourself going. Again, you're tapping into your subconscious. So it's like if you see it, bright and open, or it's solid and strong, or whatever it might be. A lot of times that's what we are, how we see ourselves, especially in the future. So nice work on that one. And what we're doing here is we're really going that big vision. We're going big, putting aside the gremlin, starting at the top of the funnel and being like, okay, what's important to me? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? And then over the next 45 minutes, we're going to really boil it down into, how do you get there? How do you go from there 10 years in the future of what you saw coming back to today? If you didn't really see your future self or get clear advice or anything, don't worry about it. Sometimes some folks don't have as much of a creative side of their brain, or they haven't warmed it up or got it going. Coming back to it, practicing it regularly, it gets better and better and better. The next question you asked your future self, or the first question, was, in the last 10 years, what stands out most in your memory? So when you asked your future self, in the last 10 years, what stands out most in your memory? What did your future self say to you? And go ahead and write that down. What do I need to do to get from where I am to where you are? What would be helpful for me to know to get to where you are? So what did your future self say to you there? Okay, hopefully you got some good advice on that one from your future self. And then you asked your future self your own questions. So what else did you ask your future self? What other questions and what advice or ideas did you get from your future self? Go ahead and write that down. Okay, hopefully you gained some good wisdom there, or some good ideas. So let's move on. So we're in that envisioning piece, looking at where you want to go. So now let's pull it back. So we went out 10 years in the future to 2031. So now let's pull it back just based on that. What about this year? So what do you envision for your life in 2021? By the end of this year, where do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? How do you want to be? Just think about that. And you might also want to think about, what else do you envision for this decade? For the next 10 years? Anything else that you envision, that you've thought about, that you've pondered? What we're doing is just really getting that out of your head onto paper or into your computer. So what do you envision for this year? And is there anything else that you envision for this decade? Okay, because this is what it's all about. It's about getting clarity, and it's all about happiness, as I said earlier, happiness and fulfillment. So Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar is a professor at Harvard University, and his course on happiness is the most highly attended course in all of Harvard University's history, a course on happiness. And he says to be happy, we need to identify and pursue goals that are both pleasurable and meaningful. So let's do that today. Let's identify and then pursue those goals that are both pleasurable but also meaningful, because that's going to bring us more happiness, more fulfillment, and more joy. That's what it's all about, right? So we looked at the envisioning piece, that blue arrow, looking at where you want to go, envisioning where you want to go into the future. Also in this year, you can even envision where you want to go this month, whatever works for you. Then you go, the next stage is moving into strategy, strategizing how to do it, creating that clear, simple plan. One of my favorite ways to do this is to look at where you are now. The life balance wheel. If you want to download this, you can go to my website. Just go to fettke.com/extreme-book, or you can just go to fettke.com. You'll see a big red button that says Extreme Book. That was a book that I published back in I think it was 2002. But this life balance wheel is from that book. And basically, it's taking a snapshot of where you are right now in your life, and also looking at how things can improve after that. And it's based on your level of satisfaction, not what society says or anyone else says. It's based on how satisfied you are right now today. So here's the way it works. You go around and you give a rating to each area here. So if you want to go ahead and just sketch this down quickly and draw these categories in, if you just want to write down the area, just a word, and then give a number. But basically, here's how it works. Say this person is a sample. They rate their career a 7. They say, I'm about satisfaction-wise on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 would be the middle of this wheel. A 10 would be the outer edge. I'm about a 7. Finances, they're a 5. Physical environment, possessions, their home, their car, the orderliness of things, the neatness, their clothes, they would rate it a 7. Health and fitness, they rate a 7. Fun, recreation, and self-care, not so great, just kind of lukewarm, a 5 level of satisfaction. Personal development and education, how are they growing? A 6. Friends and community, a 9. Family, an 8. Significant other and romance, a 9. And spiritual, a 7. So, maybe your numbers might look different, but just give thought to these different areas of your life. And again, if you want to just write down career and put the number next to it, that's great. If you want to write down finances, put a number next to it based on how satisfied are you right now. And one little caveat, I'll say something like, let's say, for example, significant other and romance. Maybe you don't have a relationship in your life right now, but you're totally satisfied. You might rate that a 9 or an 8 or a 9. Or maybe you're in a relationship and you might rate it a 2. So again, it's very personalized on what it means to you. So go ahead and get those numbers on these 10 major areas of your life. The cool thing about the wheel is then you can draw a new outer edge. So what you would do is you'd go around and you'd put a line corresponding to that area. So a 5 is going to be about halfway up the wedge or the piece of the pie. 9 would be near the outer edge. And then you can step back and really get a picture of where is your life? How satisfied are you? And it's balance. You're balancing, moving all around. So you're taking a look at where do I need to put attention? What's working well? What's not working so well? And what do I need to do next? And you can also use this tool by, say, for example, this person's finances, they rated it a 5 level of satisfaction. So then you can look at, okay, what would it look like if it were a 7? What would be different? If you were to rate finances a 7 instead of a 5, what needs to happen? What would look different? How would it be for you to rate it a 7? How about a 9? If finances were a 9, what would that look like? And you can start to get some clarity on what satisfaction would look like for you. And it's more a holistic approach. It's looking at your whole life, not just one area. I used to have people come in and I would work with them in coaching, and they'd come in and say, well, no. What am I doing this for? I want to work with you. You're my business coach. I want to work on career and finances. And I said, yeah, that's great. But if you don't take care of the significant other and romance part and you're married, it could cost you 50% of your finances, right? Or if you don't take care of that health and fitness area, if that's way down, if you don't take care of that, it could cost you 100% of everything, right? So definitely something to think about. So let's look at strategizing as we move ahead into this area. Let's look at the theme. So now we're going to kind of rapid fire. I'm going to give you a bunch of questions about setting the intention for the year, how you want to be a more focused investor, what do you want the outcome to be, and how you can become better. Because when we get better, everything around us gets better, right? Think about that. When you get better, doesn't everything around you get better? That's what I've seen. So let's look at the theme for 2021. For this year, what do you want the theme to be for 2021? So what if this was like a chapter in the book of your life, or if they were going to make a movie about your 2021, what would you want the title to be? Go ahead and write that down. What's the theme for this year? It might be breaking through. It might be abundance. It might be rising from the ashes. It might be self-discipline. This is my year of discipline is my theme. Maybe it's giving back. Whatever it might be. So go ahead and write that down. In this book, One Word That Will Change Your Life, the authors say, a theme creates simplicity, clarity, and life change. It transforms not only what you do, but who you become. Next question. I told you I'd rapid fire it here. What personal quality do you most want to develop this year? What's the one personal quality that you're going to put a focus on developing in yourself in 2021? And I've got a few examples at the bottom, so you might want to choose from one of those, or you might want to come up with your own. Maybe it's courage. You want to really develop that personal quality of more courage. Maybe taking a risk a day to develop that. Maybe it's your authenticity, your integrity. Maybe you want to focus on being kinder. Maybe it's about boldness, speaking the bold truth, being a bolder person. Maybe it is self-discipline. Grace under pressure. Maybe it's giving. You want to be a more giving person. You want to be more humorous. So what's that one? Just choose one personal quality that you're going to focus on this year. Okay, hopefully you have that down. Now let's move into your big three for 2021. What are your big three? The big three is the big three goals. So why 3? Because the human mind can really only effectively hold on to 3 main thoughts. This is why area codes have 3 numbers in them. Because the reason why is because the human brain is like a computer, right? So if you give it 3 variables, 3 different goals, there can be 6 different variations with 3. If you add a 4th goal, all of a sudden your mind's trying to hold on to 24 different variations, the way they can move. It's like a combination lock. If you have 5 goals, all of a sudden it grows almost exponentially to 120 variations. So that's why having the rule of 3 is where you can have these very clear 3 goals. You can have a whole bunch of goals. Just get them all out of your head into some holding system onto paper in your computer. You can have all your goals listed out. But know your big 3 throughout the year. And I'm going to give you a tool for that and how to consistently stay aware of those big 3 throughout the year, every month, every week, every day. Okay, so what are your big 3? I think that Gary Keller says in the one thing, he says it's really focusing on that one thing that really brings you the greatest results. I think that's a great thing to look at your big 3 goals that you set for the year and say, what's the one? What's the biggie of those 3 that's really going to have the biggest impact that I want to put the most focus on? But Gary Keller, who founded Keller Williams, which is the largest real estate company in the world by agent count, he says when everything feels important, it feels urgent and important, everything seems equal. We become active and busy, but this doesn't actually move us any closer to success. Activity is often unrelated to productivity, and busyness rarely takes care of business. So let's not just be busy this year. Let's really focus on what's most important. That's where the big 3 come in. And here's how the big three really can pay off. So you got your big three annual goals. I think it's great to have maybe one personal goal and two professional goals, or maybe two professional or financial goals and one personal. You kind of keep that mix, whatever it is. You could have two personal, one financial, or mix it up. So basically, you have your big three for the year. Those are your annual goals. And you want to stay aware of those consistently. That's the key. You really want to activate this part of your brain, the reticular activating system. Reticular activating system, it's that bundle of nerves at the base of our brain and our brainstem. And what they call it the RAS. And the RAS, I think they discovered it back in, I think it was 1957. And this reticular activating system, basically what it does is it's a filter, and it filters out unnecessary information. So only the important stuff gets through. It's what you notice. So by having the big three goals in your mind all the time, whereas if I woke you up in the middle of the night and said, hey, what are your big three goals? You could wake out of a deep sleep and say, oh, it's this, this, and this. So you put those, you're planting those into your brainstem in your RAS. And that way your filter, your brain is always looking for opportunities and people that can move you toward those goals, that can help you accomplish those goals. And like we said earlier, having those goals that are meaningful and pleasurable bring us more happiness, right? So that's the cool thing about it. And if you think about your RAS, it's kind of like if you look around right now, just look around at the room you're in or where you are. And what did you notice that's red, right? So now look around and notice all the things that are red. So that is your RAS, your reticular activating system at work. It filters out everything else and it looks for that. And it's developed over the way we evolved over time. We used to look for, certain colored berries or anything like that if you're searching for it. And your brain still does the same thing. It's why when you say, oh, I'm thinking about buying this type of car, you start seeing that car all over the road. It's like, wow, I see it. Why am I seeing it everywhere? That's your RAS at work. All right, so that's why that's another reason to have the big three, so you're not feeling overwhelmed, but also because you're tapping into your reticular activating system to notice the opportunities and the people that can help you move toward that goal. So what you do with your big three is you got your big three annual goals, you got those written down, and then every quarter, every 3 months, you say, okay, if I have annual goal A, B, and C, this quarter, what do I want to accomplish with goal number A, or goal letter A? What do I want to accomplish with goal B? And what do I want to accomplish with goal C? So you kind of break it down. You chunk it down into 25% each quarter. Each month, obviously, you say, okay, what about this month? What am I going to accomplish on goal A, B, and C? At the beginning of each week, and we'll take a look at how to track this and how to stay aware of it. You say, what are my big three for this week? What am I going to do for A, B, and C? And then, obviously, at the start of each day, you say, okay, what are the 3 most important things that I need to handle today to move me toward my weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual goals? So you start your day with your big 3. You get clear on it in the morning or right before you go to bed the night before. And those are the things you focus on most. You've probably heard this before, but this is why it's so valuable and so powerful. I've seen it work so well. Okay, so that's why you want those big 3 goals, and then you want to go through a process every quarter, breaking those down into your quarterly. Each month you do it, each week and each day. Okay, so thinking about those big goals, one way to put them through this filter is just, what is it that you really want to create? That can help you set these goals with clarity. What really matters? You might want to look at your life balance wheel and say, okay, what really matters? What do I really need to put my attention on? Also, what's going to bring you joy? What's going to bring you more happiness, more joy, more fulfillment? It's a great way to look at what goals to set. And then also what excites you. What is it? If you're not excited about your goals, you're not going to take action. You're not going to have the discipline or the motivation to do anything about it. So it's just kind of cool to put your goals through those 4 questions, and just it's going to help you really get clarity. Okay, so hopefully you got your big 3. What are your big 3? Hopefully you have that written down. You've looked at your why. So why is this goal important to me? Answer that question for each of your goals. If I was doing a session with you right now and it was a coaching session, would probably take 2 or 3 hours to go through this. We don't have that much time, but you can always pause this. You can always do it on your own and go through your why for each one. Also think about the obstacles for each goal. That sounds kind of weird, but there's been a bunch of scientific research lately about what works most effectively for setting goals. And one of the things is to actually look at your obstacles before you get started on the goal. Why do you think that is? Looking at your obstacles before you start your goal. The reason is because you're more prepared for the obstacle when it arises, if it does arise. So, for example, if you think about maybe you want to lose weight and you're going to go on a healthy diet, and you say, okay, what obstacles do I have to losing weight? And it might be, when I go to a party and there's a whole buffet of all these things that are not healthy foods, that could be an obstacle. And then you say, okay, what am I going to do about it? If that happens, how am I going to deal with that obstacle? And you come up with an answer for yourself ahead of time. So they've done a bunch of research on it, and they've taken different groups of people and had some look at their obstacles and the other group not look at the obstacles. The group that looked at their obstacles ahead of time had a 78% greater chance of reaching their goals than the group that never looked at their obstacles ahead of time. So I think it's worth it. All right. And then also the final thing here, feel it. And just really, close your eyes, feel it just like you did with your future self. Really imagine yourself completing those goals one by one. What would it be like? What would it feel like? What will it feel like? And what will it be like once it's accomplished? Really feel it. And it makes a difference. It gets it into your subconscious mind. And then you got to look at support, right? You've looked at the obstacles, you look at what you want, but also what about the people in your life? So write down for those goals, who are the 3 people that can help you along the way this year? Think about that. Who are the 3 people who can help you along the way toward accomplishing those big 3 goals in 2021? And go ahead and write those down. You might just think of 1 or 2 now. You can always ponder this later. But again, that 3 is magical and powerful. And you want to be in touch with those people consistently, however that looks. Okay, so hopefully you have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 people down, or maybe even more. I ended up writing down 4 this year in this question, 4 different people. But hopefully you have some people that can help you along the way. And then there's this getting out of your comfort zone. We often, for change, it takes getting uncomfortable often, and some fears can come up, some resistance come up. So what are the 3 risks that you must take in this new year in order to live the life that you envision? What are the 3 risks that you must take in this new year in order to live the life that you envision? So go ahead and write those down. And again, maybe you're just going to come up with 1 or 2 now. That's totally cool. You can always come back to it. Okay, so hopefully you have a couple of those risks that you must take, that you're telling yourself, okay, this is what needs to happen. I got to take these risks. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. Okay, fortune favors the bold. Love this one from FM Alexander. People do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. We've heard this so many ways over the years and over the thousands of years, actually, advice from everything from Aristotle to Socrates to Plato, all this wisdom. It's all about what you do now creates your destiny. So let's talk about habits or rituals, whatever you want to call them. I love the word ritual, something that you do on a regular basis, and something that your future self is going to thank you for because you did it consistently. They're actions that you do on a regular basis that improve your health, your wealth, and or your spirit. They're also like exercise. One hard workout really won't do that much for you, so you're going to be consistent with them. And you also slowly change your neural structure. So I talked a little bit about this earlier, but it's really cool. It's about deliberate practice. If you Google deliberate practice, you can watch videos on this. You can read articles about it. There's a whole bunch of research about deliberate practice and how it affects the brain. And it all comes down to neuroplasticity and myelination. So neuroplasticity is that this lasting change to the brain throughout your life. It's called neuroplasticity. They used to think that the brain didn't change. Once we got to a certain age, usually like 18 or 20, they thought that the brain just stayed there and then started to decay and get worse. But they found that the brain is like almost plastic. It continues to evolve the more we use it, but it takes deliberate practice. You can alter your brain even into adulthood, even into your senior years, and it happens through myelination. So good nutrition really helps with myelination. Exercise help with myelination, but deliberate practice also does. It's really myelination. Myelin is this substance that connects your neurotransmitters. When one of your neurotransmitters fires a signal to another neurotransmitter, a neuron to neuron, it fires a neurotransmitter across from neuron to neuron. It creates this sheath of myelin between the two. So you got this little skinny cable between these two neurons. And each time you do something, your brain fires a neurotransmitter across from neuron to neuron, and it's something called Hebb's law. Hebb's law is that neurons that fire together wire together. So it actually goes from this connection that's like almost like a dial-up connection. Remember those dial-up when you're on the internet? And it goes into a broadband connection because more and more myelin gets laid down. It becomes thicker and thicker, and it becomes easier and easier. When I started piano lessons years ago, I remember it was so hard to just move my fingers over the keyboard and remember what keys were what. And then over time, my brain laid down myelin, and now it's almost subconscious or whatever. It's like I don't even have to think about it. I know when my fingers are on the piano keys, I know exactly what it's like. Or it's like learning how to type. In the beginning, it's so hard, and over time, it gets really easy and almost automatic. It is automatic. That's myelination in your brain. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because it affects us with our rituals and it affects us with our habits. In the Willpower Instinct, Kelly McGonigal, she's a PhD at Stanford University, and she has a course called The Science of Willpower. So that's all she studies is willpower. And so this book about self-control and how it works and why it matters, look what she says here. Studies have found that committing to any small, consistent act of self-control, improving your posture, cutting back on sweets, and keeping track of your spending can actually increase your overall willpower. It's awesome. So while these small self-control exercises may seem inconsequential, they appear to improve the willpower challenges we care about most, including focusing at work, taking good care of our health, resisting temptation, and feeling more in control of our emotions. So who doesn't want that? The ability to focus more and take better care of our health and resist temptation and feeling more in control of our emotions. So that's really cool. So we can actually develop our willpower. If you're saying like, God, I wish I just had more willpower, you can. All you have to do is be consistent with those habits and rituals over and over, and you actually develop your willpower center in your brain, if you will, and you become a more self-disciplined, higher willpowered person. Here's an example of that. 564,500 crunches, 45,500 push-ups, and 30,900 burpees. That's a lot of movement. That's a lot of healthy exercise. This is what I did. Not all at once, obviously. But this guy, my friend Hans Florine, he is a record-holding rock climber. He repeatedly set one of the most coveted speed records in the world on the nose of El Capitan. He did that with Alex Honnold, the guy from Free Solo. They set the world record on that, and then Alex came back and set the world record again. I think it was under 2 hours. Hans did it in 2 hours and 23 minutes. He won Gold at the X Games 3 years in a row. He's always doing these hard things and challenging himself. So even has that, if right there I put his website, dhtchallenge.com, if you want to check that out. It's dohardthingschallenge.com. So Hans is always challenging himself to get better because he knows that when he challenges himself and he gets better, life is better. He's happier, more fulfilled, and he inspires others to do the same. It's really cool. And so one day he came to me and just said, Rich, I got a challenge for us. What do you think about doing 100 crunches a day for 100 days? And I'm like, yeah, it sounds great. I'll do that with you. So that was our challenge. We'd check in each week and say, how's it going? And after 100 days, we had both done 100 crunches every day for 100 days. We felt so good, we decided to keep it going. And then that was back in 2005, in August 2005. So since then, Hans and I have both did 100 crunches per day since 2005, which today adds up to 564,500 crunches. Then in 2008, I decided to add on to that because it was working so well. So I'm like, I'm going to add 10 push-ups a day. So that was 2008. So since then, I've done the 45,000 plus push-ups. And then in 2012, I decided to add 10 burpees a day, which is a challenge. So now I'm up to 30,900 burpees. The reason I share this is because, one, I've improved my self-discipline and motivation and willpower because of that. I've tapped into that thing. There's many days when I don't feel like doing 10 burpees or these other exercises, but I do it just because I've committed to it, and I check in with Hans on a regular basis, and we're both holding each other accountable, so we don't want to let each other down. But it's also contributed so much. I think that's good for my body over the years. 564,000 crunches. I think my core and my midsection is a lot stronger and healthier, and my chest, my shoulders, my triceps, my legs, my heart, everything, thanks to those small actions. This is what James Clear talks about in his book, Atomic Habits. It's a mega best-selling book. It just took off. He says this is the meaning of the phrase atomic habits. A regular practice or a routine that is not only small and easy to do, but also the source of incredible power, a component of the system of compound growth. So I love this. I bought this book for our whole team at Real Wealth for everyone to read because it is so powerful. These small habits on a regular basis add up to compound growth. So I hope it works for you. I know it will work for you if you do it. Okay, you're probably doing it already, right? Yeah, especially if this is not the first year you've attended this program or if you've seen it before, but I'm sure that you have rituals and habits in your life that have contributed to your health, wealth, and happiness. Here's some suggestions. If you want to add some new ones for 2021, don't add too many. I would say stick to the rule of 3, come up with 3 rituals. So here's some examples that I've taken on myself or my clients have shared with me or Real Wealth members have shared with me over the years. So maybe it's waking up at a certain time every weekday. For me, last year I committed to 5 a.m. At the latest, waking up every day. And I do that 6 days a week. So that's my commitment and it works really well, but whatever works for you. Maybe it's no email for the first hour of each day. That might be a great ritual for you to kick in. Maybe it's practicing something for 15 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day. Mine was always practicing piano for 10 minutes a day and it really paid off. Maybe it's acknowledging someone daily, looking for one person to acknowledge. Often we skip that over. Or doing a certain amount of repetitions of something. Maybe it's meditating for a certain amount of day. That was another one I did in 2020 was meditating at least 10 minutes a day every day throughout the year. And that has paid off in a huge way. So many benefits of meditation. Maybe it's studying investing for 30 minutes a day, doing that 5 days a week. Maybe it's 60 minutes a day. It's something that you just want to get better in. Reviewing, sorting, and organizing 25 minutes a day. This comes from David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. He talks about just once a day, if you just stop to review what's on your desk or review what's in your to-do pile and organize things, just taking 25 minutes a day to do that will be a life changer for you instead of blowing it off and letting it build up over 3, 4, 5 days and then looking over at that to-do pile and going, I'd rather just not, right? All right, so we've gone from envisioning where you want to go to strategizing a game plan of how you want to get there. And then the next step is implementing. Going from the strategy into implementation, putting it into action. As Helen said, ideas without action are useless. So let's take all these ideas and put them into action. Okay, so let's look at a way that we can implement. I love this process. I'm a little bit more OCD or anal or whatever you want to call it, but I love to break things down into a plan that can work and be consistent around. So whatever worked for you, Kathy has definitely a different approach than I do. For some people, this works great. For some people, not so great, but let me share it with you. Basically, what I do and my clients have done over the years is to create basically a kind of a way to track your success habits or your rituals. I call them my rituals for health, wealth, and happiness. These are literally some of the things that I have on my rituals. And then what you do is you can just create however you want to do it. You could use your own calendar. You could print it out. You could have it on your computer. I just create a little sheet that I'll go over in a little bit. I call it my self-coaching form that I fill out every Monday morning. And then I send that to my coach who I talk to every Friday. Every Friday morning I talk to, but I send that to him every Monday. And this is one of the parts of that self-coaching form. So on it, you would have whatever your ritual or your habit is, for example, yoga. If you wanted to do it 7 times, then what you would do is if it's Monday and you did it, you check it off. Maybe it's that 10 plus minutes of meditation like I was sharing that I took on in 2020. Sometimes it ends up being longer. And if I did it, I check it off. And you go through and you just check off each box for the different habits or rituals that you did. If you didn't do it, you would put an X, just like that. If I didn't do, and Pomodoro is basically a timer method, like those old kitchen timers. Basically, it's like the Pomodoro tomato type timer. If you just like Google Pomodoro timer, you'll get a whole bunch of information. It's a really powerful staying focused tool. Basically, you focus for 25 minutes, the alarm goes off, you take a 5-minute break, you can go do whatever you want. You can check your social media, and you can check your email, you can do some push-ups or jumping jacks or whatever works for you, and then you get back to work. Basically, I commit to a 25-minute Pomodoro 5 times a week on learning and growing. So Tuesday here, an X would mean I didn't do it. And then you just keep going through. As you go through the week, you're checking off the boxes or putting an X saying I did it or I didn't. And what happens, it's just an easy hourly or daily tracking system. And when you get to the end of the week and you've got all your checks, you get to Sunday night, then you look back on your week and you add it all up. And you say, okay, I wanted to do it 7 times. I got 7 out of 7. I got 6 out of 7 on meditation because I missed Thursday. I got 6 over 7, 5 over 5, 5 over 5, or 5 over 4. So I actually, if you do more, I wanted to do 4 training or workouts, either doing CrossFit or hiking or climbing or biking or surfing or whatever. If I did an extra session, then it's 5 over 4. What it is all about is just to hold ourselves accountable or to have someone else help hold us accountable. What I send to my coach each week shows up like this. So I have the upper part is on my sheet, and I'm checking that off, literally just checking it off with a pen as I go through each day because I print it out on Monday. And then your results for your rituals for the week or your habits, then you can total them all up, and this is what I send over to my coach so he can take a look. If something is way off, like he sees a 2 out of 7, he's simply just going to say when we talk on Friday, hey, what happened there? What got in the way? What is it? He doesn't beat me up. It's all about learning. And I could just step back and say, oh, well, here's what got in the way. It might be legit or it might be an excuse, but I'll know. And I'll just say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to do something different this week. So it just creates that accountability. We are so good as human beings at justifying and rationalizing why we don't do what's best for us, right? We're so good at it. So sometimes holding up the mirror or having someone hold up the mirror where we've got to take a look at it. But this is a way of holding up the mirror for yourself, just saying, are you actually following through on these important rituals or habits that you've set? And again, I would say start with maybe 3. Over time, you can build those up when they really actually become habits. So I mentioned that weekly self-coaching form. You might want to create something like this, and you might already have something like this, but basically it's kind of a journal. I do it on my computer, type it up. You might want to have a journal that you just fill things out. You might already have this, but it's a simple, you put in the date, how your week went, just a quick summary, quick little journal of what's going on in your life, how you're doing, how you're feeling, what's working. And there's a lot of learning and observing in that. Listing your successes and wins. This is going to create more gratefulness, more appreciation. Looking back, so easy to go from week to week and not notice what's worked. We didn't just looking ahead and always looking at the gap of where we want to be, the gap from where we want to be to where we are. So successes and wins. Writing down the results of your big 3 from last week. So like I said earlier, you boil down your big 3 for the year into your quarterly, monthly, weekly goals, and even daily. And so when you set those big 3, saying these are the 3 things I want to accomplish this week, you can look at your results of that. And then you set your new big 3 goals for the week. What are you going to do this coming week? Really simplifies the process. It avoids overwhelm, helps us be more grounded, more focused, more effective. So that's one way to implement, going into that implementation piece, going from the strategy, what you came up with there with your big 3 goals and all that, boiling it down and putting it into something that you can take action on day by day, week by week. All right, so nice work on that. Hopefully you're looking down at your paper or on your computer screen and you have your vision for going forward. You can see where you want to be in 10 years. You can see what's really important to you. You can see a snapshot of life of where you are now. So moving ahead, I'm asking you to just really stay aware of your theme for the year. Maybe put that on that self-coaching form. I have it on the flip side of my self-coaching form. When I flip it over on page 2, I have my lifetime goals. I have my my 10-year goals, my 3-year goals, and my 1-year goal. I have my theme for the year, and I also have my personal quality I most want to develop. And this is what a lot of my clients have done. It's a lot of what Real Wealth members have done who have attended this before. So anyway, you would continue to develop your key personal quality by doing that. Always thinking about where do you want to grow? What's that one personal quality you want to develop this year? You want to review your big 3 goals consistently, kick in that reticular activating system, right? So you're always on the lookout for opportunities that are going to help you move ahead and be a more focused investor, a more successful investor, better human. You also want to stay disciplined and follow through on your rituals, which will actually create more discipline by the end of the year. Doing that, you'll actually be a more disciplined and a higher willpower person. Everything gets easier. And also doing something today that your future self will thank you for. And also what feels good tomorrow. So think about whatever you're going to do when you're thinking about it. Say, if I do this now, is it going to feel good tomorrow? Or is it just feeling good in the moment? Just kind of a good filter. Yeah, sometimes it's time to just party and, let loose and cut loose and relax. But a lot of times we do things that feel good in the moment. They don't really contribute to our joy or make us feel good the next day, or something our future self might say, is that you really want to do that? So it's something a mentor shared with me many years ago. And it's kind of a filter I put things through sometimes, just saying, if I do this today, is it also going to feel good tomorrow? So hopefully that helps. All right, another thing going forward again on our website is education. Education. The more you learn, the more you earn, you become a better person. So I just want to point out that you're probably aware of this, that we have tons of free education at realwealth.com and realwealthnetwork.com. You can click on that Learn tab and find almost 900 free webinars, tons of amazing blog articles written by a whole bunch of different experts. Just endless amount of free education. You can also book a time to meet with an investment counselor at Real Wealth. Again, that's free, and they can help educate you and teach you about real estate investing and show you the best markets to invest, and also offer you potential investments so you can really take a look at that. And then you get to select your investments, and then we are always here to coach you. So that's another, just want to make sure you're aware of that resource. Also want to make sure you're aware of these free resources as well. Well, 2 of them are free. The Retire Rich with Rentals is like $20 on Amazon, but my wife, Kathy, my co-CEO, wrote that book several years ago. It's all about how to create ongoing cash flow so you can live life on your own terms. So $20 on Amazon is kind of the best of what she's learned, and really simplifies the process of real estate investing. And then if you haven't already subscribed, I would highly recommend that you go on iTunes or Stitcher, or your favorite podcast platform, and look up The Real Wealth Show or Real Estate News for Investors. Real Wealth Show, Kathy interviews, and sometimes I join her interviewing people about how they got to where they are, what they learned, and what they've learned about real estate investing and creating real wealth. And Real Estate News for Investors is an almost daily podcast, a short, about 10-minute format, where Kathy shares the most important news that's happening in our world and our economy, focused on real estate investors and how it can affect you. So just want to make sure you are aware of that. All right, well, nice work on this. Here's to a fun, fulfilling, and focused 2021. I hope you have a clear, simple plan that you're going to implement to make this and the future the best years of your life. Wish you the best. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.